United States military is serious about bullying Russia by bringing together its world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R.Ford, into Norwegian waters to conduct joint military exercises under a NATO program. Norway is a country directly adjacent to Russia which is currently at war with Ukraine. According to Reuters, USS Gerald R.Ford arrived in Oslo on Wednesday. This will be the world's largest aircraft carrier's first trip to Europe. Norwegian military authorities said the ship and its crew would carry out exercises with the Norwegian armed forces along the country's coast in the coming days. This visit is an important sign of the close bilateral relationship between the US and Norway. Also signals the credibility of collective defense and deterrence, said Johnny Carlson, spokesman for Joint Headquarters Norway. Norwegian media had reported that the aircraft carrier would sail north of the Arctic Circle. However, Carlson declined to comment on the report. The presence of U.S. aircraft carriers received a rebuke from Russia. Moreover, Norway and Russia are directly adjacent to the sea area. Criticism has also come from the Russian embassy in Oslo. The embassy stressed that no military force was required to address the problem. Considering that Oslo recognizes Russia does not pose a direct military threat to Norway. Such a demonstration of force seems senseless and dangerous, the Russian embassy wrote on their Facebook page. Norway shares a border with Russia in the North Pole. Last year, the country became Europe's biggest gas supplier after the flow of Russian gas was restricted. The incident of the Nord Stream gas pipeline leak in the Baltic Sea made the area start to heat up. USS Gerald R.Ford carrier capabilities. The world's largest aircraft carrier is named after the 38th U.S. President, Gerald Rudolph Ford, who in his military service served in the Navy during World War II. He also took part in the battle on the light aircraft carrier Monterey in the Pacific. USS Gerald R. Ford began to enter the production stage in 2005 and was only ready to serve in 2017. As the largest aircraft carrier in the world, the start of production was marked by a ceremony of cutting a 15-ton steel plate which was part of the ship's hull. The cost of building the world's largest aircraft carrier is certainly not cheap, reaching $13 billion United States dollars or around Rp. 188.5 trillion. This aircraft carrier weighs 100,000 tons or the equivalent of 400 Statues of Liberty. The carrier was built at the Huntington Ingalls Newport News shipbuilding in Newport News, Virginia, and employs 19,000 workers. Already undergoing a series of testing phases. Since completing post-shakedown availability, selected restricted availability, PSA, SRA, at the end of October 2019. USS Gerald R. Ford performed very well, both during testing and training. USS Gerald R. Ford is the Ford-class aircraft carrier, the first of the new class in more than 40 years. The USS Gerald R. Ford represents a generational leap in our country's capacity to project on a global scale, said Modley. USS Gerald R. Ford getting ready to become a warship. Because frankly, the sailors operating these aircraft carriers want ships that are ready and they want to go on their missions, he added. Has a weight above 100,000 tons. This at sea period for first-class carriers is part of the 18-month operations phase. Currently known as Post-Delivery Tests and Trials, PDT&T, which last until mid-2021. During PDT&T, the crew of USS Gerald R. Ford will test the fuel system, conducting a retest of aircraft compatibility, training the flight deck, and carrying out tests of combat systems. Quoting Compass.com, USS Gerald R. Ford started sea trials since July 2017, after undergoing an 8-year construction process. It is an aircraft carrier classified as a supercarrier, with a displacement of over 100,000 tons. The USS Gerald R. Ford will one day replace the Nimitz-class carriers that have been in service since the U.S. began using them in the 1970s. His name is taken from the 38th President of the U.S. Nimitz-class aircraft carriers can cruise at speeds above 30 knots, wading through waters for 90 days without having to restock, and launch aircraft hundreds of kilometers from the target. One of the Nimitz-class aircraft carriers is the USS Theodore Roosevelt, which was able to sail 159 days without a port call while on duty in Operation Enduring Freedom. The Nimitz-class design has indeed accommodated the latest technologies in the last few decades. But still, its capabilities are limited to the latest technology. USS Gerald R.Ford was designed to keep up with the latest technology, with a much more efficient design. One of the things that the US is upgrading is the deck that also functions as a runway. USS Gerald R.Ford has a crew capacity that is smaller than its predecessor from the Nimitz class, which can accommodate up to 5,500 people. With a smaller crew, the US Navy is able to save more than $4 billion over the carrier's 50-year life. Currently, the USS Gerald R.Ford, which is the largest aircraft carrier in the world, is the mainstay of the US to be able to compete in territorial waters, especially to bluff his opponents, including China. Can transport 75 aircraft with the new technology. USS Gerald R.Ford can serve 160 sorties a day and can be increased to a maximum of 270 sorties a day. In March 2020, USS Gerald R.Ford achieved 1,000 fixed-wing landing services using the Advanced Arresting Gear (AAG). USS Gerald R.Ford also has a new type of nuclear generator, electromagnetic catapult, can carry 75 aircraft, and has a service life of up to 50 years.